I saw two great shows last week, the Apple Keynote and Doctor Who. This review is about Doctor Who, and I am so sorry it's late. I wish I could borrow the TARDIS and post it last Saturday. Can I do that? No? Listen is the name of the episode. It's written by Stephen Moffat, directed by Douglas Mackinnon. Benjamin Cook posted on Facebook last Saturday, a little before it aired. He said he'd seen it several times, and it was the best episode of Doctor Who in ages. I think Ben is right. I agree with him. Stephen Moffat goes back to a theme he excels at. The scary stuff that's just out of sight, beyond the corner of our eye, behind us. The fright that haunts us from the inside. The stuff that sneaks up on us when we're not looking. If there's one thing that Stephen Moffat knows, it's that. His strongest monsters have all sprung from that place. The weeping angels, the shadows in the library, the silence. They all come from that deep, deep well of dread. Don't look away. Don't blink. Something is gaining on you. In Listen, he comes up with yet another variation of that. It may be the scariest of all. It may also be the most refined version of the idea and the cheapest to produce, because it's the monster that may not even exist. The monster under the bed. The monster on the other side of the door. It's the monster built out of fears we never quite shake, because it's lodged in our imagination, triggered by the sounds of a creaking house. In some ways, it's a radio monster. Listen. As a bonus, I'm sure production accountants love it when they get a script that doesn't call for a big cast, a ton of CGI, costumes, latex masks, explosions. What's fascinating to me as a viewer is how a low-budget episode becomes a high-interest episode when the story's tight. And this story is very tight. I don't want to say much about it because spoilers, but I will say this. Two other things that Moffat excels at. One, tying together threads in ways you don't anticipate. What makes this episode especially good is that it enriches what we already know about each of the four main characters in the series. The Doctor, Clara, his companion, Danny Pink, her companion, and the TARDIS. There's more of the TARDIS in this episode than we've seen all season. Maybe enough of the TARDIS to have satisfied Chris Bentley, although that's a tall order. I love that this version of the TARDIS has two decidedly low-tech information systems, an old-fashioned library filled with books and a chalkboard. And the second thing that Moffat is good at is stories that hinge on time travel, not just going someplace in the past or the future and having an adventure, but a story that depends on hopping back and forth across time. He does that exceptionally well with Listen. This is a story that expands and enriches our understanding not only of this series, but of every previous series as well. Time travel. What a concept. Jenna Coleman just gets better and better stuff to do as Clara, and she gets better and better at it. This is the second great restaurant scene that Moffat has written for Clara in this series. I love the talk she had with Danny over dinner. We've met him before, but this is the first time we learned something of substance about Danny Pink, played by Samuel Adamson. And Peter Capaldi just continues to come into his own. I love the way this episode not only balances the Doctor's strength and authority against his fears and insecurities, but it shows how those two sides are related for him and for us. Listen confirms that casting Capaldi was one of the best decisions Stephen Moffat has made as showrunner. Until next time, I'm Mickeleh. DVD Extras. Did you know that this season's title sequence was developed by a fan? It's had some publicity, but maybe you didn't know that. Billy Hanshaw is a professional motion designer, but he's also a fan of the Doctors, and he did a title sequence on spec, put it up on YouTube. And Stephen Moffat saw it, said it was the first new idea he's seen for an opener. He used it as the basis for Series 8. This episode, in its economy, reminds me of an episode from the Russell T Davies era. Also a favorite of mine, Midnight. In fact, I wrote a song about that, which I will link to. Here's that spec title sequence that Billy Hanshaw posted to YouTube. And over here, that's my song for Midnight, the song about midnight. Unfortunately, I recorded this before I knew how to pronounce the name, Davis, Russell T Davies. Here's what I said about episode 3, and here's what I will have to say about episode 5. Bye now.